What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch Boxing. I'm your host, Reckless Rex Ruger. That's the Alexis Arguello puppet. My guest is here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can agree.
Better. All right, man. I'm glad. And I love that I started over. We jumped right in, man. MALIK Titus. My God, you are a gigantic guy, man. I don't know how the hell anybody dares step in the ring with you, but heavyweights nowadays have really gotten gigantic, man. I'm 52 years old, so I remember when a heavyweight would be like, Mike Tyson wasn't a big guy. Evander Holyfield, these weren't big guys. Now the heavyweight division is full of, outside of Usyk, who is one of our champions right now. What would you typically? Well, let me start at the beginning first of all. When did you get a pair of boxing gloves on? How early did the journey start for you?
It started at 11 years old.
11.
I got introduced to the boxing when I was 3 years old by my dad and my granddad, who was a professional fighter. So my first going to the gym before I knew what a boxing was. I remember I was 3 years old, and I was going up these steps, and I smelled this like leather, and I just smelled like the sweat, and I saw like a whole bunch of commotion going upstairs, but I didn't know what it was, but I was like kind of excited. So when I went up there, I saw people like hitting the bed, jumping rope, like sparring. But at this time, I was like 3, so I didn't know what it was. But I saw a lot of people like excited, so I just wanted to do it as well.
And what was the impetus like for bringing you there? Like, did your were you a kid that was getting in a lot of fights? Was this why did your father like bring you there? Was it just something he wanted to see if you would be good at?
Yeah. So when I was 3, so my dad, so my 8, you gotta be 8 years old to box in USA boxing. So like. I couldn't compete or anything like that, so I used to like cry and everything like that because I wanted to fight. But like, I guess like it's not he always wanted, like he always interested in. First, like my granddad was a professional fighter, and my uncle was boxed as well. So it was like something that was like into like my family. Okay. But I didn't really know what boxing. I'm a kid, so I don't really know what boxing is. But I just see my dad like it a lot, and then when I actually like went into it, it's something that I liked as well.
Was it something you felt like you had like a natural ability for? I mean, how easy did it come to you when you first started?
So when I started at 11, I started out probably about like I was about like 5'7", 5'8", and I was about like 221. So I was like a big obese kid. Yeah. So it wasn't good for me at all. Like I was overweight. I was like low self-esteem because of my weight. So like when I started back in boxing at 11, I started to lose weight for football. Like during that time, I had like Pop Warner, so I had like a weight limit. Yeah. So I was like, I was trying to like lose weight to play football, but like I never could play until I got to like high school. Because at that point it wasn't a weight limit, but so I was like a big kid overweight, so I had like low self-esteem. I always wanted to like play football, but I just couldn't like make the weight.
And so right now, man, you're currently 28 years old. For years, people always equated an athlete's prime with being like a young man. Obviously, we are still seeing people compete. Alexander Usyk is near 40 years old. Arthur Beterbiev. We saw Bernard Hopkins fighting into his 50s. Where do you feel like right now at age 28 you are in terms of your athletic prime? Do you feel like you're in it or haven't reached it yet or in the midst of it?
I feel like I'm actually like starting to like come into it, honestly. Like I feel like my body's still like developing. Like I feel like for us like the past like 2-3 years, I can see my body starting to develop more like a man. But also like I know like a lot of times like especially like other sports, like let's say for example like a 30-year-old running back is kind of like old.
Yeah.
Like, a 30-year-old heavyweight is kind of like just getting started.
Yeah.
I'm not even 30 yet. So like you look at like, in other sports, kind of like in the early 30s, it's kind of like
people are calling it quits. Yeah.
But like boxing, it's like, you're like a 31, 32-year-old heavyweight. It's kind of like you still got some time on your hands.
And I know your dad brought you to the fights, man, but were you watching any boxing? And did you have any boxers that you were looking up to?
No. So actually, like, I love like wrestling, like WWE. Before I found out it was like fake. So like I always like watch like wrestling growing up. So for some reason, like I thought it was like kind of like similar to boxing. So you see as you're a kid, you see the ring. So like you kind of look at like you kind of like equate it a little bit as like it's like kind of like similar to the same.
Right, like they're punching each other, even though they're not really punching each other. But
so
wait a minute.
That's the reason why I kind of like fell in love with boxing at a young age. Cause like I always grew up like watching like WWE, like SmackDown, like all like. Yeah. So it was like that's probably like a little bit like probably why I like it as well.
And so, who was your guy in wrestling?
I used to like Batista.
Yeah,
I think everybody liked the Undertaker.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like some guys that I like. Rey Mysterio. Like you can go on and on, but I was definitely like a huge wrestling fan.
The Undertaker though, man, is one of those guys, man, who has literally worked himself into the GOAT conversation. Though he has the respect of every other wrestler. Though those guys in the locker room respect the hell out of him.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the man. And so I want to get your opinion, man, because you have a draw on your fucking on your resume. What does it feel like, mentally when you have a draw, a tie essentially in a fight with another man? When you come out of the ring after a draw, what does it feel like to you personally? Does it feel like, do you equate it to a loss? Do you equate it to like I didn't do enough? How do you compartmentalize it and deal with a draw?
Yeah, definitely. So I got a draw back in March. So it was a 10-round fight. The ninth and the 10th round, I got a point taken away on both rounds. So the ninth round I got a point taken away. The 10th round I got a point taken away. So that's equated to the draw. So like coming out the ring, like I felt like I was like in a way cheated.
Yeah.
It's like how to deal with the actual draw. It's kind of like hard because like you technically ain't lose, but you technically ain't won either. So like
right.
I said, like going to the amateurs, like back in the amateur, it's either a winner or a loser. So like for sure, like okay, like when I get in the ring, I'm either going to win or I'm going to lose. But as a pro, it's a draw as well. So for me, it was like kind of like tough, just knowing the situation of the fight like that took place, but also know like listen, at the end of the day, like you still got to draw your record. So that's you got
right.
you kind of deal with it. No matter like even if you're going like box break, it clearly says like ninth round point in the way, 10th round point in the way. But the reality of the situation is still a draw no matter what. So it's like kind of like hard to process it. But I also feel like during that fight, like I kind of like left the fight a little closer than what it should have been.
Yeah.
That's just so it was kind of like hard on my end as well because like okay, like yeah, like you probably unfortunately like life ain't go the way you wanted to go, but you still left a lot on the table where you could have, maybe you could have did a little better than what you did.
And do you feel like it's a fair assessment? Because your record right now is 14-1-1. 13 of the 14 wins are knockouts. Obviously, people would look at that record and say he's a big heavyweight. He's got to be a knockout artist. Is that a fair assessment, though? Or would you pride yourself on being classified as something else? I.e., we hear guys referred to as a boxer puncher, a technical boxer, a tactical fighting. What would you say your style is? Because obviously people would look at those numbers and say, oh, yeah, this guy just knocks people out.
So me personally, like I feel like I'm definitely like a boxer puncher. But like even like in the amateurs, like as a kid, like 14, 15, 16, like I was like stopping guys. But so I just feel like I'm more like a boxer puncher, but I just happen to have developed like heavy hands. But me personally, like I feel like I'm more just like a technical guy in general. But I just feel like again, like I just have like heavy hands.
But I feel like there's nothing wrong with that though, because and I don't have to tell you this though, man. I mean, we do still see a lot of bad judging and a lot of bad scorecards, and I've been critical of it even here on my show too. But it is one of those black clouds that unfortunately hangs over the sport a little bit, man. I mean, it probably is nerve-wracking when you're a young fighter, to go to the cards.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like especially so like my first 8 fights, of course, like it was like 3 like knockouts. I remember like when I first had my loss, like I got stopped. So like I remember like during the fight, it was just like all right, we in the 7th round.
Yeah.
Like I'm winning the fight, but in my head, I'm like, okay, this is my first time fighting in my home crowd. Like let's just make a statement. I got going up, and I just walked to a shot, and then like boom, that was it.
And so currently, are there guys, because obviously, you compete, but you're obviously must be a fan of the sport too. Who are some guys doing it right now that you enjoy watching?
First like heavyweight, so I can like look
just in general, at any weight. Who are some guys you enjoy watching?
It's definitely like a lot of guys overall, but like I do want to like give credit to like my teammates. We got like a lot of like of course like in Baltimore, like I feel like when we kind of like mix into the DMV, which is good.
Yeah.
But Baltimore in general, we got like a lot of fighters that's like past and like present. That's like pretty good. And I also got like some good guys in my gym as well. We got Terrell Iron Soldier Boyd. He's 16-0. We got Mac Poppy Allison. He's 21, I think 4-1. And we got Destiny Day Owens. I believe she's 14 or 15-0 as well. So we definitely got like some good guys, a good men and women that's coming up out of Baltimore. And of course, a lot of people know, of course, like Joante Tank Davis. They know like Franchon Cruz that we got as world champions in Baltimore currently.
Yeah, Baltimore is churning out the fighters, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Tank definitely, but man, like put Baltimore on the map in a big way these last couple of years for sure.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, you've got dates set up for upcoming fights in July, in September, in December already, man. You got an opponent for July 19th. Obviously, the other two, it's still to be announced. Does that make you nervous when you don't know the opponents ahead of time?
Not really. Like I know like a lot of times like in like sports, or just like boxing in general. We always want to like try to predict the next move, but my main focus is July 19th. I'm back in Baltimore at the Horseshoe Casino. So I just want to put on a show there, and then like after whatever happens next, I just go forward from there.
What status do you feel like you carry when you come into a fight? Do you feel like you're usually the favorite or you're usually the underdog? And which role do you prefer?
I feel like and like so as of right now, like I feel like I'm kind of like the favorite, but
Yeah.
but just in general, like I feel like me personally, like I still want to just prove myself. Like I still got like a chip on my shoulder. Like my goal is definitely become a heavyweight champion of the world, and I just want to like bring on belts back to America. Like
Yeah.
I was like when you look at like American heavyweight boxing, it's kind of like something that's like okay, like it's kind of like an afterthought as of right now.
Right.
It's like I feel like you always gonna get compared to like Muhammad Ali's, Tyson's, and like I feel like as of right now it's like we don't look at like our currently crop and heavyweights is like okay they can compete with those guys. So I feel like as of right now it's more like it's always like a chip on my shoulder, like just being a heavyweight. It's just more like it's like I'm kind of competing with the past as well. Like
Yeah. And so who are some guys at heavyweight right now, man, that you think are some good young heavyweights?
so as a coming up, I definitely like let's say around my age, I know I'm eventually like bump heads with. I definitely like Justice Herney. He's out of Australia. I like Moses Talma. He's over in England.
Yep.
I definitely know eventually like, I feel like I'm gonna fight Jared Anderson. So definitely like some good like guys that's in their 20s. That I feel like eventually we gonna like bump heads.
Now, why do you say you feel like you're going to end up fighting Jared Anderson? Because I was just at International Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, and another young heavyweight, Brandon Moore, also called out Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson seems to be a guy that a lot of young heavyweights, man, like seem to want to like. Is he the guy to measure yourself up against if you're a young heavyweight?
Not necessarily, but I just feel like I feel like a couple years ago, like when you look at like Jared Anderson, like it was like it's a hype train. Like
Oh
for
yeah,
when I mean like hype, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but I'm just saying like it was like more like must see TV. And
yeah,
like it's like if you're like coming up, it's like yeah, like I want that as well. It's not just like anything like hating towards him or nothing like that. It's just more like just like friendly competition.
yeah. And so at 14 and at 14 and 1, because we are seeing guys nowadays with a lot less fights under their belts being able to compete for world titles. I always bring up Keyshawn Davis as an example on here. 13 fights into his career, and he got the WBO welterweight title. We've seen Lomachenko do it in very few fights. Where do you feel like you are in terms of? Have you discussed this with your team? The timeline for when you'd like to be throwing your hat into the ring for world title fights.
Well, as of right now, I'm gonna just like take it like one fight at a time.
Yeah.
And cause like as of right now, it's kind of like I definitely got to start preparing myself for it. Just knowing like we got Usyk, Champion, we got people like Fury, Joshua. That's like kind of like on their way out. So like I feel like when my time come, it's kind of like gonna come quicker than I expected. So it's like more me just like preparing myself now for it compared to like more like this is a time I'll say 2 3 years from now, and like you never know like with like especially like how I said like Usyk pushing 40, he's 38.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's say if you get past the bar, he just retire. You got belts that's up on the line. So, I can see myself within like, either right now you just gotta be ready whenever it happens.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
And that's refreshing to hear as a young fighter, man, because a lot of guys are like, really pushing to make things happen very quickly, and they don't really rein it in and have a little bit of patience and let the try to trust the process.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like with boxing, like you see like a lot of times, like even like you look at like some of the fights yesterday. I'm not sure if you looked at on the J. Cole undercard, but
Unfortunately, I did. I was talking about it when you came in here, and I was giving a big to the card yesterday. Not to the card, just to another Jake Paul fight. Though the undercard itself was great.
Yeah, I feel like that as well, and I feel like you had upsets on that card. So it's like in boxing, it's kind of like I feel like you never like really out in a sense.
Yeah.
It's just like let's say you have a down year in football or something like that. It kind of like okay, it's always gonna be another draft next year. But I feel like in boxing, it's kind of like you had a guy that had like kind of like on like not the best end of the records end up upsetting like a 24-0 guy. So
Right. And now, do you like Jake Paul events, man? Like, do you tune into them? Do you think what he does is good for boxing? Do you look at him and respect him as a fighter?
Me personally, I know like a lot of people got like a lot of Jake Paul hate, but personally, I don't. I feel like it's tough. It's definitely like tough to get in the ring. like what if you're an influencer or not? Like it's not like he's like, it's not like he's just like sparring or nothing. Like he's getting in the ring and like
He is.
risking risking of course getting hurt. I know like a lot of like of the criticism is like more like, okay, like how can this guy come in and make millions, but then you got like guys that's been fighting since they was like 10, not making much of a dime,
Right.
And I understand you can't do that like in other sports, but I feel like for us, like him as an individual, like you can't. He still took a risk, risking his life. He's not. It's not he grew up, boxing.
Right.
That like he has. So I do feel like you gotta definitely like in a sense like I know like there's a lot of hate, but you still gotta kind of like look at like okay, like this guy,
Yeah.
In a sense, you still got some balls to get in the ring and fight.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's taking the same risks that real bona fide fighters are. Anytime he climbs through those ropes, and he is getting people paid on his undercards though, and he shined a lot of light on women's boxing. I'll give him credit there.
Like that, like I know, like coming up, like next month on the 11th, I feel like it's like an all female card in New York.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty big. And I know like it's televised as well. Cause I feel like a lot of women, they don't really get like a lot of recognition. And like, a lot of times compared to a women world champion to a male world champion, like it's pretty much night and day,
Now, there's a lot of good young heavyweights, American or otherwise. You mentioned Moses Atama. He's from over in England. Jared Anderson. Martin Bacoli. I just mentioned Brandon Moore. What do you feel like you bring to the heavyweight division that it's lacking?
I feel like more like my style. Like, of course, like a lot of people, I wouldn't say necessarily like flashy or anything like that, but I can fight both ways. So that's like one thing that like you like some like Tyson Fury. I can fight like orthodox and southpaw like pretty naturally.
Yeah.
I just feel like for us like just like my movement as well. Like a lot of people they look like heavyweights, you look like people just standing there just trying to trade. Right. So like I just feel like I do got like skills as well.
Right. So people look at you and see a big guy and they probably just think all this guy can do is punch, right?
Yeah, basically like I'm just like slow footed.
They sleep on you.
Yeah. Like I do got pretty good feet.
And so where did that's rare. One thing you touched on there that's very rare, especially like as guys get bigger, is that ability to fight, orthodox and southpaw. What was that born out of, man? Did you just teach yourself to do that? Did that come naturally, or are you just naturally ambidextrous?
Yeah, so it's two things. Like, so my boxing coach, his name is Mac Allison. He's a Hall of Famer in martial arts, and like also he got like multiple Hall of Famers. He can fight both ways. So growing up, I saw that. And also, like my granddad, may his soul rest in peace. He was originally like he's a left-handed person, but like he told me like growing up he had to switch orthodox because back in his time they wouldn't fight southpaws. So I kind of like just saw coaching my granddad, could fight both ways.
And for okay, and I could be wrong on this information, but I did look on the internet, man, and I couldn't find one. Does Malik Titus have a boxing nickname?
Yes. So like I remember like a couple years ago I was fighting in Washington D.C. and then like the crowd, like some of the reporters, they started calling me like the Ring King.
The Ring King?
Yeah.
Okay. And has that stuck?
Yeah, it kind of stuck. So it was the first person who made it. He's an announcer. He go by just Bobley and Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, just calling me the Ring King. So I liked it. So
yeah, it's got a good ring. It's got a good ring to it. No pun intended. I mean,
yeah.
And so, give me your assessment right now of currently some of the guys that are on top in the heavyweight division, and like what you think of them like as fighters. Like, what do you think of our current champion, Alexander Usyk? Do you see flaws in his game? Do you respect him as a fighter, man? Do you like what he does? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. Like, of course, like you can't really like necessarily like not hate against him. He Olympic champion. He undisputed cruiserweight champion. He won up the heavyweight, became undisputed. So you can't really like necessarily doubt him. He did this against like guys who's like much bigger than him. So I feel like it was more like he used his technique and his speed, to outmaneuver these guys. And also you look at like Daniel Du Bois, that's the IBF champion. I just feel like he had like a good like comeback story. First, like people kind of like wrote him off, called him a quitter.
Yeah.
But like he ended up just having like a good run and it became a heavyweight champion. So like I feel like again like how I talked about earlier in boxing, it's like you kind of like never really out of it. And it says, especially heavyweight, kind of like it's one punch and you can kind of be back in the mix.
Right. You feel like Dubois will win this fight with Usyk. And where did you stand on the first fight in that very polarizing body shot, if you will, that many people said was not low, and that Alexander Usyk went down on that body shot.
Yeah, it's kind of like hard because, like, of course, like they had it on the belt line. So I know, like, a lot of times, like in boxing, you look at, like, let's say when like two fighters come together, the referee was like, okay, this belt line is high, this belt line is low, or you can punch it. So it's kind of like it's like a controversial thing. Just for me being a fighter, and just know, like, sometimes the referee's like, okay, like this the cup here, but here it's a little high, so this I will mark this as, like, it's legal. So, like, it is kind of like tough, and like for us, like being a heavyweight, in a sense, it's like we more bigger, so our like bodies and torso, even like with Usyk, you 6'3", like 220, 230, you're still a big guy compared to, like, just a regular person standard. So, like, it is, like, kind of hard to mark that. But I feel like for us in a rematch, I feel like it's going to end again in a stoppage. I feel like one of them was going to get stopped, and I feel like in a sense, I feel like Usyk got like a little bit more miles on him. I feel like the boys, he kind of like really is hungry, but I feel like it's either that's going to cause him to get stopped, but like he just going to feel like, I got ready to mark myself this time. So I feel like this fight is not going to go the distance at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree, and I think in our discussion right now, I'm going to start patenting new boxer shorts with a big round thing that says "balls here." That way, nobody will get punched in the balls, man. Everybody, just have the front of the shorts have a big target on there. These are where the balls are. Don't punch here.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, but it did, that did look like kind of, I don't know. I mean, you raised a good point. It is tough to know, like, where the cup is, where the belt is, all that stuff, man. But that did look like a damn good body shot, though.
Yeah, like from the replay, it's kind of tough because it's like and that's just me feeling like being a fighter, have a cup on, just being a big guy, kind of like cup is kind of, it can kind of, even with you fight, you kind of move a little bit. So it is a little tough assessment. You gotta just, like, the boss a big puncher, so, like, but I feel like this fight, I feel like it definitely ain't going the distance.
No, I don't think so either. And so what about some of the other guys, man? Like there's been a lot made about for a while about Martin Bakole being the quote unquote the boogeyman of the heavyweight division. What do you think of his talents?
I thought he actually, like, pretty good, but I feel like he did kind of drop the ball since after the Anderson fight. And I feel like as a heavyweight, I feel like that's like something that, like, of course we get criticized about our weight sometimes, but I feel like with him, it was more like, it was a guy that was like, okay, I'm good. And I remember his manager, trainer, because, like, in the UK, you kind of had both, but he always was like saying, like, okay, my fighter, he stopped this guy in sparring. He stopped this guy in sparring.
Right.
Like, he kind of finally got an opportunity. And I feel like it was more like, in a sense, it was more like, okay, like, I felt he showed where I'm good, but then after that, it was like, okay, what's next? Like, I feel like he should have been more like, I'm not saying like how he felt, but I feel like on the outside looking in, it was more like, okay, I showed where I'm good, but then that's it. I just blew up weight. Other than that, to start eating anything, when he fought Parker, I feel like he shouldn't have took the fight. If you're not, like, why would you take a fight you're going to a different timeline,
right?
You're flying, like, it's kind of like, what was the point? Like, your ego couldn't be that high. Like,
right. And I think it does kind of tarnish, it kind of tarnished the whole boogeyman thing too. You know what I mean? Because even though he was overweight and he stepped off the plane or whatever, and Joseph Parker was in shape and ready or whatever, I know he's trying to save the day, trying to step in at the last minute, show people that he's really that guy or whatever, man. But that was an ill-advised plan, though. That was not good.
Yeah, that was definitely.
That's a little too short a notice. That's a little too short.
Yeah, like, you're gonna fly into another country and then and then I feel like it's also just his lifestyle, like, outside of boxing. Honestly, you're trying to enjoy a good win, but it's also like, from, like, you look at, like, the Anderson fight in, like, August, and to his fight when he fought in February. It's like, okay, you may say you want to train this whole time, like, that's not a good look to really say, like, oh, use it as an excuse.
Yeah. Now, what's your best fighting weight, man? Because you are 6'5". You are a large guy, man. Like, what's a comfortable fighting weight for you? Because, like, I've seen your last couple fights, and you are always kind of north of 265. Is that good for you, man? Do you like to be big? Do you feel like you're coming in at your ideal fighting weight?
It's definitely, like, good. Like, I can hold the weight because of my size.
Yeah.
Eventually, like, I would like to get down a little bit, about 260.
Yeah.
Like 255, 260. I feel like that's ideally would be great. But it's also like I can hold the weight, I can move pretty well with it. So, like, it's not necessarily like an ideal weight I want to be at, but I would just say, like, if I can tell you, I would say about 260.
Yeah. Now, obviously, weight classes exist for a reason. This is obviously subjective. This is just your opinion. But obviously, at the end of this year, or September, I should say, really only a couple months away, we are going to finally see the big fight between Canelo and Bud Crawford. Where do you rate Bud's chances coming up all those weight divisions? Do you think he has a chance in this fight?
Yeah, definitely. And like, I feel like the reason why I feel like that is like these are like, guys just maybe if it was like both like probably in their 20s or like a little like earlier 30s, I probably would say like probably no. But like you look at like, Canelo, they both like, mid to late 30s. So I don't think I know it's kind of like hard. I wouldn't say they out of their prime. I can't make that assessment. But I feel like maybe like if it was like a couple of years ago or something, you're probably like, no, it's like pretty much too big of a jump.
Right.
But both kind of at the end of their career. So it's like I feel like when bro, and it's kind of like, well, why not? Like why not try aim for greatness? But that is like a great, that is like a big jump,
Yeah, a huge jump. Yeah, and have you thought much about what life after boxing looks like for you? Do you feel like you'll always have a foot in boxing? Are you interested after your in-ring career is over in being a promoter, being a coach or a trainer yourself, or will you make a clean break and go off and do something else?
Yeah, so one of the things I like really like got my heart into is like for boxing, I want to get into like amateur boxing. As far as
Yeah.
like growing up, the Golden Gloves like a big tournament for me. I want to like so it's like in a sense like get somewhat my foot into the door for that. But like what if I'm like running like running like our actual Golden Gloves like the DC Golden Gloves here. We fight in Maryland, but we also like fight for the DC Golden Gloves.
Right.
Either something like that or like something like just interacting like with like USA boxing. I don't necessarily want to coach or I don't want to be necessarily be a promoter. That's not really something I'm necessarily interested in. But for us, like just helping out amateur boxing anyway, for sure. Like I definitely would like to get to that. So I feel like in a sense, it's like from like growing up, we always had like a lot of like tournaments, but I feel like now it's kind of like dying down in a sense for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you've got the fights scheduled for July, September, and December. So do you feel like that'll be the rest of the activity for the year?
As of right now, yes. So
Yeah.
of course, like my main focus is July, but
Yeah.
I'm always get like any call for a fight. So like for us like in September and like December, that's not like necessary. That's like something there, like make sure like I stay disciplined, stay training. But like anything can happen for us like after July for us to fight any other date or any other opportunity.
So are there any fights? Are there any fights particularly? I know we're halfway through the year right now. Are there any fights that have particularly stood out to you so far this year that you've enjoyed watching? Are there any that are coming up that you're looking forward to? I know we just talked about Bud and Canelo. Obviously, I think probably the boxing world is looking forward to that one in general, man. But I mean, any fights have stuck out to you this year as a fan?
As a fan, yes. So definitely like a couple fights. And also I would say like the Ring magazine cards, like the Turkey Hour sheet cards, like
Yeah,
they pretty good. So
yeah,
like I definitely like those cards. 'Cause I feel like it's not like a lot of times in boxing, people's always complaining about in the sense of like, okay, you got like a main event, but then the undercard is kind of like trash.
yeah.
But that is kind of like you kind of got like main event fights throughout the card in a
Oh
sense.
yeah, Turkey's stacking them. He's
Yeah.
stacking them. Yeah, yeah. I like that.
And I would say like any fights coming up, um, not necessarily as of right now. Of course, my fight, but
Yeah,
outside of myself, like I don't necessarily see like I would say more like the I'm definitely like interested in the Edgar Berlanga fight
yeah.
in a sense. Like I definitely like you got like two big guys punchers. I definitely want to see how that fight ends.
Yeah. Obviously, you have a vested interest somewhat in Usyk and Dubois, I'm sure, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's like kind of like the main focus.
Yeah.
Of course, as a heavyweight, you like at the end of the day, it's kind of like these two are the champions. So.
Have you thought about your career to the point of, like, I talked to a lot of guys on here who have thought about, like, how, at what age they want to be done boxing by, or like they're only going to fight X amount of fights and then they're going to hang it up or whatever. Have you thought about that? Or are you just kind of playing it by ear at this point?
I'll say a couple years ago, I would tell you, I thought about like maybe like, between like 35, 36.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm kind of like just having fun with it.
Yeah.
And of course, like eventually, it gotta be like, okay, like it gotta be a life effort boxing. You can't keep taking punches, but it's also like boxing in a sense is like in a crazy way, it's kind of fun. So
Yeah.
like enjoying it. Like I like winning. I like getting my hands raised. I like people asking me for pictures.
Yep.
Like, I just like the camaraderie of it. Just having even though boxing is an individual sport. I like to have like teammates that care about me.
Yep.
So definitely it is like to me it's gonna be like something hard that I'm gonna walk away from in a sense. That's why I still want to in a sense be like somewhat associated with boxing. But like obviously I'm 28 now. I don't necessarily want to think about it right now. I just want to keep enjoying it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, keep lining them up and knocking them down for the time being, right? I mean, well, hey, listen, man, it's been a real pleasure, man. I'm so glad we finally got a chance to do this, man. And you know, sometime in the midst of those next 3 fights, man, you know, I'd love to have you back on and we'll do it again. We'll chop it up about your performances, maybe after the one in September, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing it too, man. It was nice meeting you and nice talking to you, man. Stay in touch. We'll do it again, my friend.
Yes, sir. Have a blessed day.
Yes, sir. You too. Thank you. And there he goes, folks. Heavyweight Malik Titus, 14-1 and 1, 14-1 and 1, 13 knockouts, man. Another young up-and-coming heavyweight, 28 years old, Baltimore, Maryland, stand up. Man, they're sending us badasses out of Baltimore too, man. I mean, goddamn the Northeast, man. We just build them different up here, man. And that is a mountain of a man right there. 6'5", 270 pounds, man. Another good, big, young, hungry American heavyweight, man. Looking forward to seeing what he does in his career, man. Glad I finally got a chance to nail one down with him, man, and chop it up with him, man. Malik Titus, the Ring King. I did discover that he has a nickname. Couldn't find that in my notes at all, but glad he cleared that up for us. Got to have a boxing nickname, a good boxing nickname. That one rolls right off the tongue. Very good. Malik Titus. There you go, folks. Make sure, of course, to like and follow Off the Couch Boxing on Facebook. You'll get updates on new episodes, when they are dropping, who will be on said episodes, and any other big pertinent boxing news. If it's popping off in the fight game, more than likely it will be up on the Facebook page. I keep my audience in the loop. And of course, if you're watching right now, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that notification bell to stay tapped in. You know what we do here, the best boxing conversations and content anywhere on planet Earth. Go check the playlist, man. Tell me who we haven't run down. Well, there's a lot of people we haven't run down, but we've run down a lot. We'll go all over the world with it, man. International, anywhere. And if you got suggestions on who you'd like to see on here, hit me up in the comments section. Hit me up on Facebook. Very receptive, you know, to feedback. So don't be afraid to reach out, man, in the comments section, anywhere. I'm not a hard person to find. So if there's something you'd like to see, somebody you'd like me to have, something you'd like me to talk about on here, feel free to reach out, man. Don't hesitate. And of course, let me remind you guys that when you look at that playlist and you see all the amazing guests we've run down, you will then understand why we are the undisputed, undefeated heavyweight champion of boxing podcast. You'll know, folks. Go look at that playlist and you'll know. And the good news is you too can be a champion. It's very simple. All you got to do is continue to stay tapped into Off the Couch Boxing and continue to roll with the champs. Peace.